Good evening, folks, and welcome to episode 5 of Into the Shadows. I'm glad to see that we have such wonderful people here tonight. I'm very happy that tonight, hello John, thank you for watching, thank you for tuning in. I want folks tonight to chime in and comment for a very good reason. Aaron, good to see you again. The reason why tonight is interesting, the reason why it has its interesting bearing, is because tonight we're going to be covering a topic that many of us can relate to. What do I mean by that? Well, for instance, many of us are watching this on a medium that, let's face it, we've all had before. We've all enjoyed. I know I did. It's something that I spend a lot of time enjoying. It's the occasional web series. Now, a lot of people will tell me, well, what's so scary about a web series? Well, there's a couple of things that are fairly scary when it comes to a web series, I find, at least. I mean, when you think about it, a web series is truly the newest home medium. I'm not sure if many of you can understand that. Some of you can, I'm glad. But a web medium, something that we all enjoy, be it on YouTube, a dedicated video on a website. Yes. Something we all enjoy. I myself enjoy the occasional. I find that whenever it comes to a good web series, it has to have relatability. Relatability! Something we talk about a lot on this show. Is it relatable? Well, let's talk about that. 1 second. I seem to have a little bit of difficulty with something. I'm curious as to what you all like to think of when it comes to a web series. Name a few. I'm curious, because there are a few I could name. Slender Man, Everyman Hybrid, Marble Hornets, Hi, I'm Mary Mary, even the somewhat offbeat one like Hello Harley, good to see you. Shout me the shit out from Australia. Well, hiya Stephanie. Good to see you. When it comes to a good web series, you look at production value, you look at the writing, you look at the acting, and ultimately the execution, and whether or not it's relatable. Well, there are several different ones out there that can really throw us for a loop. Think, for instance, to Slender Man, something that started as a writing on creepypasta. Indeed page it is. And inspired lore that people in and of themselves began to write. And then people began to post sightings of a creature. Something that went absolutely viral. Even got a film made. It is all about the execution. Creepypastas can be amazing. Thank you, Elizabeth. I have my own personal favorites, but I'm curious as to yours. Which ones do you find to be favorite? Which ones? Hello, Jeremy. Good to see you. For those of you who don't know, Jeremy is one of my more long-standing fans. Has been watching since the beginning. I can say without a doubt, glad to see him in. What I can say, that the lore is what draws a person in. When they make lore relatable, possibly could happen to you, could happen to me, could happen to anybody. It's not something so out there. I think back to one of the first, very interesting, I guess you could call it, viral posts, and I'm putting that in quotes here, posts, because this was pre-internet. It was a radio broadcast done by Orson Welles, The War of the Worlds. It was the first time where someone decided to take something that everybody decided to pop in on the radio, and that everybody could think to themselves, could this happen? Harley, Riot Girl, thank y'all for tuning in. War of the Worlds. Yes. It was something that people could be like, that could be happening in Jersey. Because that's where they said it was happening. In Jersey. Not too many people had on-the-site news. The only thing they had was the voice of whoever it was that was reporting it. And that's who was the one that was broadcasting live. And I'm putting that in quotes. Because it was all scripted. It was all a hoax. But a hoax or a great performance piece, which is what web series are today. They're their own version of War of the Worlds. They're something that we think to ourselves could happen to us. It was something that we could say, will I look out my window and see aliens invading? People freaked out. Elizabeth said it best. It was more terrifying than Hitler at the time. People were truly terrified. Why? Was it because it was a tale that was taking place on an alien planet way off in the distance that nobody could pronounce, with technology that nobody had ever heard of, with strange jargon being thrown left and right? No. It took place here, amongst us, in a context that we could relate to. That, folks, that is what made it scary. That's what inspired fear. It's all right, Riot Girl. We're talking about fear in general, not just psychological horror. We're talking about fear. Horror and fear, two different animals. I've mentioned this in my first episode, but I'll be happy to reiterate, because believe it or not, it is something that's a very good point to remember. Horror is when you're in the movie theater and you see the monster on the screen, and when you leave, you're not going to be expecting the monster in the parking lot. You're not going to be expecting the monster in your back seat. You're not going to be expecting the monster waiting for you at home when you turn out the lights. Fear. When you leave that movie theater, you're looking over your shoulder. You're checking your rearview mirror. I covered The Exorcist in episode 3. It was a great show. You should watch it. Had a little bit of an interesting visitor. It was a broadcast that was legitimately haunted. Not talking about the movie, I'm talking about this one. I have a visitor that currently exists with me that moved things around But let's continue. Jay, good to see you. But fear, it's relatable. So, let's talk about the other interesting series out there. Let's talk about Slender Man for a second. It wasn't something that was presented to us that was so outlandish. This was during a time when it was released that there seemed to be a little bit of a big boom in people noticing stuff kind of sitting in the background of photos. People were going through a lot of their old pictures trying to see if maybe they saw something similar. People were thinking, could this have happened? And how most people couldn't necessarily tell whether or not what they had been experiencing in life, which could just be a simple series of unfortunate events, could it be that? Or could it be the existence of the Slender Man? We couldn't really know. Now, let's talk about this series. I'll be happy to. We could talk about Everyman Hybrid, or Marble Hornets, or Hi, I'm Mary Mary. One of the stranger ones, Dad. Tribe 12. There are several different types of horror out there that, in a way, kind of just makes you go, could it be that maybe I am experiencing what they're experiencing? Plausible. Relatable. You can't really tell. I myself, sometimes, as watching these things, become deeply immersed, highly invested, focused, hyper-focused, almost like twisted hypnosis, which we know I have a lot of experience with. But everything has its relatable moment. Everything. When they present these. Now, I'm not necessarily quoting to the quality of these particular shows. Some are great, some are not. Some fumbled the ball near the goal line. Some took it all the way. You know, it's... Right? Believe it or not, you pointed out something. I'll talk about that right now, as a matter of fact. A couple of kids legitimately stabbed somebody and went to trial because they were doing it to, I think, give an offering to the Slender Man. I mean, there's ridiculous, there's stupid, and then there's that. This really does immerse us. It really does scare us because it's that relatable. It's plausible. Likely? No. But can you ever really be sure? That's the root of fear. When you can actually say to yourself, when you see a story, can you really be sure? It's a whole different animal, really. But, as always, I'm interested in your input. I'm always interested to hear from you people. Because I don't like just talking at yous. I like talking with yous. I like knowing whether or not I am the only one that's thinking this. Maybe you have insights, maybe you don't. Fear is a shared experience. Be it you and the source of the fear, or you and another and the source of fear. Either way, it's there. It is something we all have. Anybody that says that they're fearless, they're ignorant to their fear. They are unsure of what it is that scares them, because everybody has a fear. Everyone. It's just finding it. And relatability, that's the locksmith to the lock of that fear. Indeed, Riot Girl. You're one of our more active ones tonight. I'm glad to see it. Just in case you folks are just tuning in or have not tuned in before, I'm going to ask that you like the shit out of this video, share the shit out of this video. I do post my previous episodes on my YouTube channel. You can look me up on Baronvvoltage, as well as, like it to your Facebook timeline. The more engagement I have of this, the more likely I will continue to be able to bring you very wonderful stories and analysis, which I'm happy to do. And I enjoy doing it. And we all need that. There's something that I'm also going to be doing as well for the next couple of weeks, is a bit of a personal shout out to a relative. But this could be related to anybody, but for the moment, I have family, believe it or not. I'm not just me. My niece, Gabriella, very wonderful little tyke. Her birthday is coming up near the end of this month, and unfortunately, because of the circumstances in the world, won't have much of a birthday. So, special birthday shout out to my niece. I wish I could see her on that day. But, for the moment, every single broadcast, I'm going to throw a little bit of a shout out to her. Because she has the innocence of a child. Because she still is one. And I know for a fact that many of us feel the same way when they're a child. And carry it to our adulthood. If fear is associated with the unknown, is terror associated with the known? Terror is associated with what I call internal experience and external experience. What we do is, most of the time, fear of the unknown of what we could experience. It's always a statement of relatability. And I know, I keep on saying that, but it's true. Thing is that fear, we are not sure if the Yellowstone volcano will blow up tomorrow or 10 minutes from now. We don't know. But some would say, that's suspense. And suspense, yes, it's a thing. Hitchcock was the king of it. But fear. Hello, Jim. Thank you for tuning in. Fear. Fear is truly something completely and totally, what's the word here? It dominates us. But we don't know. Now, terror is when we experience something and it brings us back in our memories to experiencing it. Or we know someone that's been through it. Or we've just seen somebody go through it. That form of terror, it's powerful if you really try to think about it. I'll give you a good example. And it's more of a relatable. Yes, I do, Jim. Think of the Saw films. How many of us have seen them? I mean, I'm not stating to anything about the quality one way or the other, but think about it for a second. When we saw some of the injuries that occurred in those films, how many of us felt a visceral reaction to it? See, that's terror. We're watching it happen. We feel a sense of pain. And our bodies immediately react to it. We feel a pulse of adrenaline. That is terror. Anytime, Jim. Just glad to have you in. That's terror. Now, fear is somebody saying, imagine if you got X, Y, or Z cut off. Or you felt a slice. You haven't seen anybody go through it. You yourself have not experienced it, but you sure as hell don't want to go through it. That's fear. And I don't blame you. I certainly do not want to be a victim of Mr. Kramer, aka Jigsaw. Certainly not. But that's fear. Now, with web series, a web series allows us to see something in a far more relatable medium. Some more so than others. Don't get me wrong. The ones that push more of a found footage vibe to them tend to execute it a little bit better. The ones that do it in a sort of documentary style, they're doing it in a very interesting way in that they're presenting us with a past event that did happen in their story that we could relate to. In which case it could happen. I'll give you a good example of the film The Poughkeepsie Tapes. Now, that killer didn't exist, but it was done in a documentary style, like something you see off of A&E or something off of, the Biography Channel, whatever. And it throws you for a loop. Because you have to say to yourself, this happened. It could happen. It may happen again. This person is still out there. Oh, gods. You see, that is terror. Not realistic terror, but terror. And it squicks one out. And this is something I have mentioned. I wish. I will say, as far as I'm concerned, they're real. And this is my personal opinion. I don't consider slasher flicks to be horror. And I know that sounds strange. Hello, Justin. Greetings to you. Thank you for tuning in. Horror is different than fear. It's not horror in a sense that it's gore. It's really pushing that very fine line between relatability and shock value. Now, there is something to say for shock value. It brings a person to the forefront of a visceral reality. And that is, very well done. But does it inspire fear? Are you leaving the theater or turning off the DVD or anything along those lines? I wish they were porcelain. You take a look and you're not thinking that's going to happen to me or that could happen to me. You don't have that fear. The only thing you can do is simply say to yourself, that happened to somebody, I know what I'd do in that situation. But, it creates that immediate, holy God. It gives you that, and that's its own niche. It gets lumped in with horror because, let's face it, it doesn't have any other plausible, genre to it. Dracula films, they inspired, and I'm putting that in past tense. They inspired fear. Now, you say Dracula movies, I actually know Bram Stoker's great nephew. Dacre and I are actually friends, but I will say this. When it comes to... forgive me, folks, I'm reading through the comments because I don't want y'all to think I'm just talking at you here. I could do jump scare films and shows, but because of that, I ghost hunting past, but my girlfriend jump scares me during the show or film. Well, jump scares, they are relying upon a panic response of the brain. It gives that immediate adrenaline rush. Horror and fear, both of which tap into the same part of the brain. They do. And that is ultimately why people watch those films. They do it because they want that adrenaline rush. Goes all the way from the base of the spine all the way right up to the head and back down again. It's incredible. But It comes down to whether or not it has a lasting impression. That lasting impression, that is what makes it effective. Does it hold up? Dracula films, they held up back in the day because they played upon something that we could relate back then. The advent before criminal investigation, the advent before security alarms and locks on windows. Back then, it was more of an honor system. Who's going to break into a woman's boudoir in the middle of the night to feast upon someone? Only a demonic entity to ruin our innocence. And that ultimately is what Dracula was about. It was a morality tale. And Dracula, as a creature, as an entity, was there to violate innocence and facilitate it. Something that many people felt was a true threat. It's the only reason. Jeremy, you just hit it on the head. That is what relatability is. That is what relatability is. That is a beautiful example of relatability. Anybody that has seen that film knows. And the funny thing is anybody that has ever had that film described to them and hasn't seen it knows. You see a logging truck on the road, you don't sit behind it. You always get a little nervous. Irony is that I experience it a little bit myself. Only it's not just logging trucks. I get that way around car carriers too. All effective fear truly stays with you, even after years of watching The Source. I was talking about Paranormal Encyclopedia a couple of episodes, not Paranormal Encyclopedia, Paranormal Activity a couple of years back, episodes back. And they're watching it for a different reason, Riot Girl. I can tell you that. A couple of episodes back, I spoke about Paranormal Activity, the films, and the reason why they were effective. They had a jump scare factor to them, but they also had a relatability factor to them. Because every last one of us have heard our house creak and immediately started to get a little nervous. I haven't watched those films in quite a while. I still get a little skeeved. I still get a little nervous. Despite, whatever I deal with, I still get a little tossed off. I can't camp in the woods and not think of Blair Witch. I hear a noise in the woods, I get a little tossed off. It kind of freaks me out. Something that relates to us allows us to feel the fear. Web series does that because of the presentation and the subject matter and the lore. Something that we can relate to. Hi, I'm Mary Mary does it in a very interesting way. And here's why I'm bringing that one up. That one is tackling mental health. Hi, I'm Mary Mary. For those of you who don't know, it's an interesting web series. If you want the link, I'll be happy to give it to you. Just message me on Baronvvoltage on my Facebook account. I'll be happy to tell you about it. Don't message the Hellfire page. Message my account, Baronvvoltage. Okay, it's my professional one. I answer all messages that I get on there. And hi, I'm Mary Mary. Now, Riot Girl, I'll tell you this. Some people will say it's lame, others will say it's not. And I'll tell you why it was effective, if you're interested. Blair Witch had its effectiveness. I'm sorry, it's just messages to throw me off. It's almost like I'm a squirrel. Seeing a vampire enter a dwelling without being invited would be immoral. Women inviting danger into their homes. Yeah. Danger into their life. It can be. It can be, Megan. It's not so much the rocks and sticks that would scare a person. What would scare a person is that it was unexpected. It was fear by proxy. That's what made it good. It's not necessarily scary to the viewer. It's more watching the individual's reactions to something they didn't expect. Now, most people, they need to see the danger in front of them to truly be affected. Understandable. You know, most of us want to see the killer. We want to see what's affecting it. Okay. But when you've got something where you're stuck somewhere, okay? And I want you to really think on this. If you're out in the woods and you come across a tree while you're going to go do your business, and you look across and you see a carving in the wood and it's your name saying, "Don't look behind you," how are you going to react? That feeling of slight uneasiness, that little like, was that there? Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Now imagine that being accumulation. I guarantee you, the idea that possibly whoever it was that was in the woods was throwing stuff off, and they were thinking, is this like Deliverance? You know, that we're watching somebody else get scared. And for some folks, when they watched them get scared, it would in turn trigger a little bit of a fear response in ourselves, because now we're experiencing the same thoughts they're experiencing, not necessarily being reacted to the direct stimuli that we have. Understandable. Most people, whenever they're looking for any kind of fearful film, yes, we are looking for that direct feed. It's more of an indirect hit to us. So yes, I can understand the opinion that yes, it was shit, because most people, when they're going to see a film to get scared, to experience fear, they want it direct. Blair Witch was more of an indirect. And when you delve into it a little bit, it kind of throws you off a bit, you know, because you're expecting that immediate hit. When it doesn't hit, it throws you off. So for some, it was confusing and shit. For others, it was, holy crap. Me, I can't be in a tent and hear noises out in the woods. And it's not necessarily because of the film. Jay, thank you for tuning in. If you want to watch the rest of the broadcast, you can watch it either here on Hellfire Radio, or you can check out my Facebook page at Baronvvoltage. I'll be posting the episode broadcasts usually a couple of days after. Don't forget to like and share, please, before you leave. Now, when you have a web series, now we're looking into something that we are always on. We're always checking out YouTube. It is true. Okay. Forgive me, folks. I'm reading the comments here. It's gotta be, as said before, relatable. More like even Mothman, Jersey Devil. I'm in abandoned properties all the time. Experience shit way more realistic to me. It's just opinion. Yes, of course. And you know what? Your opinion is valid. You're entitled to have it. With Blair Witch, they were, yeah, I can see your point. I could certainly see your point. And the thing is that you have people that say that they saw Mothman. I could totally get you. Jersey Devil, same thing. Related to a region. Forgive me, I keep on touching my nose. For some reason, it's extra itchy tonight. But with Blair Witch, it wasn't necessarily an entity. It was more the people going through their own version of hell. That's all right. If you want, you can always check the broadcast later. Like I say, I always post my past episodes on my YouTube page. By all means, like, comment, and subscribe. But with all types of fear and all types of horror, it comes down to how it's presented, where it's presented. Is it relatable? For some, it's relatable. For some, it's not. For me, I can't be in a tent in the woods because, one, I've been deployed. For those of you who don't know, I'm prior service military. I was in the Air Force. I did 2 tours in Afghanistan. I will be in a post, I hear any noise, I get freaked out. But also, I've been camping several times in northern New York forest. And I'll hear a noise and it kind of throws me off a bit. You know, I have prior experience with noises actually being things. So it comes down to that relatability. If you've never experienced something happening and you hear a noise in the woods that you know is not supposed to be there, you get a little nervous. Not necessarily afraid, but nervous. And when you've got films out there and web series and games and books that inspire something that you don't expect, that you have no experience with, but you can see yourself in the situation, that's the relatability. Now, whether or not it's a realistic portrayal, that's up to the filmmakers. That's up to the writing. But that's about it. Comes down to you. Now I know I keep on circling back to it because I haven't really gotten a chance to expound upon it. Because you folks, I love how engaging you guys are. I really am. Hi, I'm Mary Mary is a psychological thriller. I'd love to. You want to know what, Aaron? You come to the Pine Barrens and camp there, then I'll look into that one as well. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Oh, I know, Riot Girl. I live with one. Check out my 3rd episode on The Exorcist. I know. With Hi, I'm Mary Mary, it's a psychological delve. And the reason why it's relatable is because we see a physical manifestation of the woman's mental health tormenting her. And the only interaction that she has is with others. It's a morality tale and it's a metaphorical tale. It relies very heavily on jump scares and I don't want to say shock value, but more of a relatability value. And that can throw us off. Hey, there you go. I got my tags on. I never take them off. Never seen Lovely Molly, Elizabeth, but I'd be sure to check it out at some point. You take a look at shows like Marble Hornets. It's relatability. Ultimately, it's relatability. You kind of see a little bit of the exploitive nature of the filmmaking. It's interesting. It is interesting. Take a look at shows like This Room Does Not Exist. Again, relatability. I'll be happy to dive into each and every single one of these, but I'm really more curious about you folks. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, cash payments, the whole 9. I'm happy to hear it all. Forgive me, I'm looking at the comments right now. I want to make sure that everybody gets a word in, and I'm able to get a word in on them too. Seeing as a vampire can't enter a dwelling without being invited, wouldn't a moral be that women are inviting danger into their life? All right. To answer your question, Megan, to look into the moral of the tale is to avoid anything that could corrupt, in a sense. That was the presence of vampires. That was the reason why vampires got brought more into the mainstream during that time. That was more to say, hey, women, don't trust all men and preserve your chastity till the last possible moment. Yeah. Jeremy, you bring up Cloverfield. All right. Hey, there you go. The reason why Cloverfield worked and at the same time didn't work wasn't so much, I guess you could say, relatability as it was with the lore that got presented. Now, there was a deep dive analysis on the film, and many people did it, where you could actually see the creature arriving on Earth near the very end of the film. So now you got to wonder how easy it was for something like that to be missed, and maybe we didn't see it, and maybe there's something underneath our oceans. We don't know. You know that they actually say the final frontier is not space. It's still here on Earth. There are still areas of our ocean's floors that we do not know, that we can't quite explore. There are creatures that are still being discovered in the depths of our oceans. How do we know that there isn't something further down there? We can't tell. There could be something all the way at the bottom of the Marianas Trench. We don't know. Is it possible? Maybe. It's kind of an interesting viewpoint. Aaron, you say that you camped back in the Pine Barrens back in 08, 09? Oh dear God, Jeremy, why'd you have to mention spiders? What'd you think of the Pine Barrens back in 08, 09? I know my Garden State has a way of inspiring things. I actually lived not far from the shark attacks that took place back in the early 20th century that inspired Jaws. I hate spiders too. I'm legitimately phobic, Jeremy. You know what? I think I'm gonna tell you guys what actually what scares the shit out of me. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll get you guys a little bit. You know what I mean? If you'd be interested in hearing, because I won't bug you with that if you don't want to. Because we all have things that scare us. We all have things that inspire fear. It's a question as to whether or not it actually happens. What scares you? Yes. And that's why I don't go there. I can hear spirits. Alright, I got one person telling me. Aaron, okay, that's two. I know I got a couple of you regular viewers here. You probably have already heard it from me before in person. But alright. A number of years back, I was in the hospital. And I got diagnosed with a condition that essentially was not good. And I had a nightmare while I was in the hospital bed that the doctors were telling me that I was going to be going that night, and there wasn't anything that could be done. And I thought to myself, I'm going to die here alone, and nobody's going to be here. And what's worse is no one's going to care. And I was, without a doubt, unknown to even my closest of friends, to my family. This was the nightmare. I died alone. And when word got out that I had died, Nobody bothered to claim the body. No one showed for the funeral. And when asked, I was a passing thought. Oh, they died? Oh, okay, pass the potatoes. From my own family. I was left unknown and mourned. Unmourned. And completely forgotten. That's my fear. To have not made an impact. And to be forgotten. That to a vampire, which, as I identify, is the final death. We live on in the memories and experiences and impacts that we make to the people that we meet and interact with. And our biggest fear is that we're forgotten. We're completely, totally, and absolutely lost. Dawn! Good seeing you. But yeah, it's a fear of mine. I don't want to be forgotten. I want to be an impact. I want people to know me. I want people to remember me. In good ways. But I also want people to learn. I want to be able to enrich people's lives, not just exist in them. To enrich. I'm hoping that anybody that watches my shows, I have a show on Wednesday, and I have this show on Fridays. I have web pages, I've got a YouTube channel. But an impact, just like fear, something that stays with you and never goes away. You know, Jeremy, here's the thing. I know you. I may not know you personally, but I know you. And if you go, it's going to suck. See, you've already made an impact. And that's what matters. And I want you all to think about that. Every last one of you. And you notice, for those of you that are just tuning in, whenever I see somebody, I know and I remember who they are. That's right. Right, girl. You bring the pizza, I'll bring the beer. I'll remember every single one of you. I'll gladly throw a shout out in your direction. Because you all matter. Every last one of you matters. And I'll never forget it. Coming down to the last 15 minutes of the show. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, cash payments. I especially love the cash payments bit. It's very helpful in these times. But as I've always said, if you're strapped for cash, don't send me money. You know, save it, use it, get yourself good. If you've got to spare, sure, but I'm not going to ask you to like delve in where you don't got it. If you got it, great, but don't. And if you do, you know, just message me. I'll tell you what you got to do. Because right now, I exist in a very menial existence, and this is really all I've got. So I'm happy to do so. Also want to give a special shout out to Hellfire Radio. They had a little bit of an awards thing tonight. They celebrated their 1 year anniversary. Oh, look up Baronvvoltage. It's my performer page on Facebook. Baron space Voltage. I'm pretty sure that's it. Yeah, that's it. You can also find me on my YouTube page. Same thing, Baron Space Voltage, Baron Space Voltage. For those of you that are military, right, girl, you said you were a lifetime military brat? I'll tell you this, okay? I'll throw the phonetics at you. Bravo, Alpha, Romeo, Oscar, November, Space, Victor, Oscar, Lima, Tango, Alpha, Golf, Echo. Jeremy, I'm going to burn you for that. Oh, wow. But yeah, Hellfire has celebrated their 1-year anniversary. Kudos to the awards winners tonight. Hopefully next year I'll be getting one of those. Yeah, it's a nope truck is what it is. Yes, Candace, it is the stuff of nightmares. Thank you for tuning in. Holy baby. You know, I really enjoy talking with you folks. It's fun. You guys are the highlight of my week. If you have any suggestions, show ideas, like I say, fire them my way. I'll be happy to reply to them. And I'll be happy to think of them. Jeremy is actually the one that suggested my Exorcist episode. So, there's proof. I do get back to you folks. I do let you know. Everybody gets credit. But I think that for now, that's going to cover it. If you got any other thoughts or viewpoints, by all means, share them now or forever hold my peace. Got about another 13 minutes before I call it an evening. Start a little bit early just so that I'd be able to yammer with you folks. I'm happy to do so. That's subjective, that's problematic. I wish I could riot. Shane, thank you for tuning in. Not quite leaving yet, but I'm glad to see you tuning in. Perhaps. I'll be happy to do so. You know what? You're giving me an inspiration for next week's show. Real life events. Their crew gets diminished. What do you mean, Aaron? Urban legends. Definitely one. Well, Dawn, if you need to, by all means, message me. I'm Baronvvoltage. I'll be happy to actually do something. Oh, cursed films, in other words, Aaron. I get what you mean. There are a few that have been like that. There's a couple of stories. The Omen, in particular, apparently was a haunted production. I will eventually do a show about that. I talked about that in episode 3, Riot. Believe it or not, in particular about the Exorcist and Poltergeist I mentioned. I might dedicate a whole show to that at some point. I gotta do my research on it too. So that this way I can make sure you guys get all the info and I'll be able to throw some links in so this way everybody gets exactly what it is that they need to get. So believe me, inspiration and motivation, thank you. Coming up on 10-minute mark before I close off for the evening. Any other questions, comments, concerns, complaints, cash payments? Because AMA. All right. I could tell you, Jeremy, that what's here was here before I got here. I've had something with me for decades. And like I said, Aaron, I'll definitely do my research. Make sure that I give you guys an actual fulfilled show, in particular dedicated to that at some point in the future. What I brought with me here, if anything, exacerbated the shit out of what the hell was here already. I've actually got photos of what's downstairs in the basement. As far as what's here solo, what's here has, for the most part, remained somewhat localized. House has been blessed, the house has been smudged, the whole nine. Still, whatever the fuck is here, still here. It's an old house, you know. This dwelling in particular is over 100 years old. I know that. So, who knows? But that's all I could really say about it confidently. There's other stuff, but I can't exactly really dig into it. Riot, yeah, the Lord Carnarvon death and the whole nine there, definitely understandable. Like I said, I could do something with inspired unreal events. That could be its own episode too. So thank you. Happy to, definitely will dig into that as well. Turn that into its own show. Anybody else? I could do this all night. You know what I am going to do, though? Those that usually stick around near to the end of the broadcast are the only ones that ever get to see this. I get to wind down for the evening. For those of you who don't know, my fangs were done by Horror Show Jack. Great guy. Best thing is, these things are fitted. They don't require any glue or anything. They just slip right over my teeth. See? I'm always happy to try and throw some business his way. Well, you know, love us to death, just as long as you are able to, you know, share the video to any big groups that you might have. You see, very few people actually get to see this unless they actually stay to the end of the stream. I usually end up basically tuning down so this way I can say goodnight to you. Not just Baronvvoltage, but me. So, don't worry, I'm not stripping down completely. Just making myself comfortable-ish. Those that don't know me know I'm a nudist. But that's why I say comfortable-ish. Not just comfortable. But yeah, I mean, whatever it is that, you know, you guys want to talk about for future episodes, by all means, let me know. I'm happy to hear them. Because as much as I've experienced in life, there are some things that I have not, but I'd be happy to research. I'd be happy to delve into. And I'm all about making sure that I engage with you guys. Because I like knowing what everybody's doing. And especially in these times, everybody, we all need to, remain together and interact with one another. Otherwise, we'll get, our own version of cabin fever. And then that really sucks. Believe me. Scream Trilogy was interesting because it's a play on the old slasher films. That's why they were good. That's why I liked them. I mean, how often can you hear this, what's your favorite scary movie? In which case, then my reply is Showgirls. Absolutely terrifying. Damn. I was dealing with a little bit of something earlier today. I had to call out from work. Yeah, Aaron, you know what? I mean, when was the last time that you saw The Howling, though? Honestly. And the only reason why I'm asking that is, if you can watch a film and then watch it decades later, well, there you go. If it still holds up, it's a great film. Believe it or not, I've got a trading card of my own. I usually give it out as my business card, I guess you could call it that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Give me about maybe 5 seconds. Here. There we go. I found it. See? I have my own trading card too. I give it out as a trading card, like a business card every once in a while. Really wish I could make more of them. He's given out at a couple of the conventions that I've been to. And because I was a panelist, they decided to make cards of all the individual panelists for the conventions. And they gave me a small stack of myself. So I was happy to freaking get them. It was great. See, The Exorcist is good because what it relates to isn't time sensitive. They don't use too many things that, we would necessarily be like, that wouldn't happen to us. Or anything like that. Films that you could tell they are dated lose their punch when it comes to fear. There's always going to be a logging truck. That's why it kind of fills us with a little bit of dread. That dread is a good word to describe it. Saying I've got 12 viewers, I'm really curious as to who's watching. I'm really curious. You know, smash like, share, please. All right, Jeremy, that type of hypnosis is therapeutic. Hypnosis, I don't mess with that, thankfully. I am a recreational hypnotist. I hold a world record in hypnosis right now. I hypnotized 115 people in under 20 minutes, individually. And I teach it at conventions. I actually run a hypnosis con out of Toronto. I'd be happy to receive one, Riot. Like, you could actually email me. And for those that don't know, my email address, no spaces, is baronvvoltage@gmail.com. I will take any ideas that you guys throw at me, one way or the other. I'll be happy to communicate with you that way too. And remember, it's 2 V's, Baronvvoltage. No spaces. Original Lost Boys, that's right. Vampires don't fucking glitter. They don't. Do not sparkle. Anyways, folks, that's my stream for tonight. I will see you all next week. Wednesday for the Killing Wall. And then Friday again for Into the Shadows. So for those still awake, still watching, good night. Sleep tight. And if you ask nicely, maybe I'll bite. Good night.